Hey, everybody. I'm gonna sorry, I'm a little bit late here. Give me just a moment. I want to make sure that I have everything working properly. And then we'll get started. All right, looks like we are good to go. All right, so welcome to how to detox from sugar after the holidays. So this is part of our sugar detox challenge. I gave this presentation last night and I wanted to do it again here in our Facebook group to give everybody an opportunity to see it. So with that said, let's get started. So we are talking about how to detox from sugar after the holidays. So in this workshop, we're going to discover multiple health benefits of detoxing from sugar that will break the cycle of sugar addiction once and for all. And so before we go any further, I want you to get the most out of this workshop, turn everything off that's operating in the background, including your email, social media platforms. Really take this time for yourself as some self-care. And, you're in here in the group, participating in the detox challenge. Obviously, you're having an issue with sugar, you want to figure out what's going on. And so this is a really great opportunity to do that. And then you can also refer to the 10-day sugar detox materials that you've been able to download. There's some amazing stuff in there. I'm going to reference it a little bit as we're going through. But just know that that's got, all of the kind of pieces that you need to do a sugar detox. And then here in the group and with this workshop as well, we're really helping support you and give you accountability as you go through it. And as we get to the end of the workshop, I'm going to show you what you can do to make sure that you stay on the wagon after you do your 10-day detox, because you're going to put all this work in and you want to make sure that, after going through your detox, that you're making the progress that you want. So, the 10-day detox doesn't just end after 10 days. It's really just a stepping stone into your next part of your health journey. So have you tried over and over to quit sugar or carbs, but always find yourself going back to it? Do you have trouble with sugar and carb cravings, ultimately leading to unhealthy food choices? Do you find yourself exhausted and drained at the end of the day? And do you snack for a lot of the day? Would you like to reduce your cravings, improve your overall health, and lose weight while you're at it? Are you trying to break the cycle of sugar and carb cravings after the holidays? So if you answer yes to any of this, then help us here. So you're in the right place if you're ready to break the addictive sugar cycle once and for all. Are you ready to lose weight, increase your energy, and improve your mood? And you want better brain power and even more radiant skin. Or maybe you want to decrease your inflammation levels, increase your immunity, and protect your liver all at the same time. And as a special bonus for you, if you stay to the end of this workshop, you're going to get access to a really fantastic, I think, amazing special bonus. So what we're going to learn today is today's biggest health issues and how they're related to excess sugar consumption, the biology of food addiction, particularly as it relates to sugar, the top ways that you're going to benefit from doing a sugar detox, the best and easiest sugar detox method, and how to be sugar detox symptoms and set yourself up for success. So before we go any further, a little bit about me. If we have not met, hi, I'm Maggie. I'm an integrative health and life coach, and I work with women who want to feel confident and lose weight. And I'm a recovering sugar addict myself. And, about my practice. So I go by Healthy, Happy Her. And I really want to help my clients feel comfortable in their own skin, because I hear that over and over from women who come to me looking for help. Is that's really, when we really boil it down, and yes, they want to lose weight, they want to feel confident, but that feeling that they're looking for is feeling comfortable in their own skin. And I completely understand that, because I used to feel that way too. And as we work together, what we do is we work on tools to improve their physical and mental health and get to them that point where they feel comfortable, they feel confident. And I work in group coaching, which I'm going to tell you a little bit about. I have a great program coming up, and I do one-on-one as well. And so really what I work on mostly with my clients is what's called intuitive eating. And so this is defined as a personal and dynamic process, and it comes down to these 10 principles. And when you look at these, I think hopefully you feel like, well, that makes a lot of sense. So it's rejecting the diet mentality. Diet culture tells us a lot of things that just aren't true, like we have to deprive ourselves to lose weight. For number 2, that you have to be hungry to be happy and skinny. And that's really actually the opposite of what we should be going for. And through this process, we make peace with food. A lot of times, especially if we've been dieting for a long time, we have a very adversarial relationship with food and with our body. And working through that opens up so many doors. Not in just the way you eat, but also just the way you interact with the world around you. And then we challenge the food police. I hear from a lot of women that I work with, like initially they'll come to a session with me and they'll say, oh, well, I was bad and I wasn't supposed to eat, X and X, and I didn't do what I was supposed to. And one of our big goals is to get away from that idea, not living in shame about what we're eating and seeing foods as bad or good. We really work to more see it on a spectrum and make sure that we're focusing on eating nourishing foods, because when we're doing that, everything else falls into place. And then, in honoring our hunger, we also want to respect our fullness so that we're not overeating. And a lot of times we're doing that too. We're talking a lot about emotional eating. A lot of us have emotional eating. It's to some degree what we're doing. And so getting past that and figuring out, what's really going on under there, and discovering our satisfaction factor. What makes us feel good, not just in food, but outside of that. What feelings are we looking for when we're emotionally eating, and finding ways to do that without food, and honoring our feelings without using food. Again, back to the emotional eating. We're very complicated creatures, and a lot of what we do every day is revolves around food. And as something that comes from that is that we're wrapping our feelings up in food too, for good but good or bad. And so and that also comes down to respecting our body and viewing food as nourishment, and learning to like exercise and not feel like it's just another chore and not something else we have to on our long to-do list every day. And 10 is really what it all comes down to, is honoring your health with gentle nutrition and not subscribing to a regimented way of eating that where you're eliminating completely entire food groups that because you think they're bad. And so really it all comes down to finding that balance for yourself and finding a good place for your physical and mental health as it relates to your food and your body. And so why is sugar bad for you? We all know it's not great, but I don't think we realize a lot of times how truly terrible it is for us. There's lots of different forms, but when we're talking about sugar, especially, we're talking about white sugar and we're talking about high fructose corn syrup, because that's a lot of what we're getting and not realizing it, which we'll go into later. But heart disease, cancer, type 2 diabetes is a huge issue. It's so much so that kids are getting type 2 now. It used to be called type 1 used to be called juvenile diabetes. But now juveniles are getting type 2 as well, because what happens is when we eat a lot of sugar, a lot of processed foods and carbs, there's simple carbs, eventually our body just cannot produce enough insulin for us anymore to deal with it. And so it just kind of shuts down. And that's when we start to need help. And we hear a lot about pre-diabetes as well. And so, this is a process that happens over time. And it's also something that we can reverse. Adrenal fatigue, something I struggled with terribly in my 20s and 30s. And it really came down to what I was eating and how I was treating myself. And, there were certainly some factors like, having stressful relationships and stressful jobs that I got under control, but also came down to me not eating enough nourishing foods. And I was eating a lot of carbs and a lot of sugar. Like I said, I was a sugar addict. And it really did a number on my adrenals. It took me a long time to recover from it. And acne too. I had used to have terrible acne. And I wish that somebody had told me before I tried all the topicals and even Accutane, that if I just cleaned up my diet, my skin would clear up. Chronic inflammation is another issue that just has just a cascade of health issues around it. Hormone imbalance, especially perimenopausal women. We really need to make sure that we're setting ourselves up well to go through menopause, because if we don't, then we're going to have a lot more symptoms and struggle a lot more as we go through it. So, making sure that we're nourishing ourselves and taking care of ourselves before we go through menopause and postmenopause as well, really makes a huge difference. And food addiction, which we're going to talk about in more in depth in just a moment. And so, sugar is not really a food. It could be almost classified as a non-food and an anti-nutrient, not even like lacking anti-nutrient, but actually it's digested very quickly, and it increases our blood sugar levels. And refined and white sugar has no nutritional value, to the point that it actually pulls minerals like calcium and magnesium out of our body to be used for digestion, because there's nothing to help it out to be digested. And so, and not only, is it not giving us nutrients, but it's actually sucking out nutrients from our body if we're eating a lot of it, and that can have terrible impacts on our health. And so, and another part of this too is a lot of people don't realize how much sugar is hiding in our labels in our food. I'm going to share a picture with you in a moment that I feel like really brings it home. But pasta sauce, condiments, ketchup, barbecue sauce, things like that are loaded with sugar. Salad dressings, a lot of times have just a bunch of added sugar, even if they're not a sweet dressing. Snack food, crackers and chips, again, even if they're savory, they still might have added sugars. And even if they don't have added sugars, they're still very processed carbs most of the time. They don't have a lot of fiber in them. Beverages, sodas, teas, things like that, juices, and then, health food products too. Just because something is on the health food shelf because it says gluten-free or vegan or, whatever, organic, doesn't mean it's a health food. It doesn't mean that it's a fruit or a vegetable. It's in a box. It's not. Might be a better option than, whatever other iteration there is of it, but it doesn't mean that it's good for you. It just means it's not quite as bad. And so look at this picture. I just am shocked every time I look at it that the amount of sugar that's in the Prego and the Ragu is just shocking to me. Like, why is there so much sugar in that jar of sauce? And then, look at the yogurts down here too. That Yoplait, that tiny little container of Yoplait has that much sugar in it. And, you would never go into your kitchen and get a shot glass and just shoot some sugar. You say that out loud and it sounds bonkers. But, when we're eating these processed foods with all this added sugar, we're getting way more sugar than we realize. And I'd put in this perspective too, grande caramel frappuccino from Starbucks. I know a lot of people love their Starbucks. has 55 grams of sugar. And, I think for a lot of people, you go, okay, well, it's probably a lot, but I don't know how much. That's over a quarter cup of sugar. So, when you're drinking that drink and a lot of the Starbucks drinks, you're ingesting a quarter cup plus of sugar every time you have one of those drinks. And so sugar is an incredibly addictive food. And because it spikes insulin, it lights up our pleasure centers in our brain. So Harvard scientists found that a high sugar milkshake compared to something that wasn't quite as sweet spiked blood sugar and insulin levels, which led to sugar cravings and also lit up the addiction centers in our brain, similar to cocaine and morphine. So we're basically doing drugs when we're eating sugar. And, there's not one single person who isn't going to benefit from eliminating sugar when we think about it that way. And the more we eat, the more we want it. And so what happens to us too is, when we wake up in the morning, we have a low blood sugar level. So especially if we've had that good 12-hour fast from like 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And then if we eat something really sugary, like pictured here, maybe you go have like a Starbucks coffee and a donut for breakfast. By 10 o'clock, you're starving because your blood sugar is dropped. But your blood sugar, no matter what you do for the rest of the day, is not going to drop down to those levels it was when you woke up that morning. And so then you're going to feel hungry. You're going to, eat lunch early, then you're going to be hungry early in the afternoon, then you're going to have that afternoon fatigue where you want to eat more. And so before you know it, even if you're not eating a bunch of sugar throughout the day, you're just snacking and you're trying to fill that void because you're trying to get your blood sugar balance back out. And so it can be a really vicious cycle. And, when you think about how addictive it is, it makes sense. So we want to break that cycle. And the way we do that is, I hate to tell you, go cold turkey. That is really the best way to do it. We're going to do a little quiz in a little bit to see how addicted to sugar you are. And I think that can give you kind of reference for where you should be, on the spectrum of what we're doing here with the detox. But so if you really struggle with sugar addiction, cold turkey is really just the absolute best thing to do. With moderation, sugar addiction remains and the habit isn't broken. You're just kind of minimizing what you're ingesting every day. And, it can even intensify sugar cravings if you try to start cutting down, because your body's just gonna keep wanting the sugar. And so the best thing to do to find success is especially if you're really addicted to sugar, is just to go cold turkey. And we're going to talk about how to do that. And that's why we're doing this 10-day sugar detox. So, while you're going through the detox, and really going forward too, is the ideal sources of sugar come from whole foods, and that does not include natural sweeteners. Things like honey. I'm a big fan of honey. I love it in my brewed chocolate in the morning. It's still going to spike your blood sugar. And so, a lot of the natural sugars spike it less than like the white sugar and the high fructose corn syrup. But, once you get through your sugar detox, you still want to keep it to a minimum of how much sugar you're eating every day. And I love the way of thinking about this is it acellular or cellular, right? Think back to your basic biology. You know what a cell is, what goes inside a cell. And so you're going to use like an apple is a great example. So on one hand, you've got your whole apple, right? Even if it's a sweet apple, like a Honeycrisp, it's still a whole food. You're going to have to really work to extract that sugar from it. And it's also going to come along with loads of fiber, which also helps balance out your blood sugar as you're eating that apple. And you're also going to get, the vitamins, the minerals, and the enzymes out of that you need to digest your food. Now, so that's cellular sugar. But if you flip it around to apple juice, and that's acellular sugar, it has been broken out of the cell. It does not even resemble anything close to nature at that point. Sometimes it has added sugar in it, and it's just going to go straight into your bloodstream. So if you're thinking about sweet things, think about it in a whole food form. Get used to eating berries are amazing. Blueberries are pictured here. They are a superfood. They are so good for you. Anything in a whole food form. You're not going to overeat on that, most likely. And, once you've kind of gotten sugar out of your system, you're not going to crave it as much. And so you're not going to eat as much anyway. So are you going to experience symptoms when you go cold turkey? And, depending on how addicted to sugar you are, especially, through the past couple of months, as we've gone through the holidays, a lot of us start at Halloween on the sugar train and stay on it until after Christmas. And, here we are in the first week of January. So, if you've been hitting the sugar hard for the past couple of months, you're probably going to have some detox symptoms early on. And so, that's just your body letting go of all the toxins that you built up over time, but it only lasts for a few days for the most part. And so we'll talk a little bit about how to strategize around that. And so what that's going to feel like is probably some sleeplessness. You might have brain fog, confusion. You might have some pretty intense cravings. You might feel lightheaded or dizzy, nauseous, tingling, fatigue. I know this sounds terrible, but trust me, it's very short-lived and you're going to work through it very quickly. And, you might feel emotional too. You might be pretty cranky. You might have some mood swings, some direct depression, maybe just some general kind of malaise. You might feel anxious or irritable. And so trying to schedule your detox around the symptoms that you might encounter is really great. And so, today is Tuesday. And so, if you wanted to start Wednesday or Thursday by time you get through the weekend, you're going to be ready to go and probably past your symptoms. And so I think we all know this, but I don't think that it really hits home for a lot of us that, excess sugar consumption and obesity are linked. But, studies have shown that people who detox from sugar for more than 30 days lose an average of 5 to 20 pounds. I mean, that's pretty impressive. There are multiple factors that contribute to weight loss from sugar detox. For example, better insulin regulation will result in fewer cravings, better food choices overall, because you're not going to be hangry all the time. You're going to experience reduced inflammation. That's going to result in more energy, and that's going to help you just motivate you to be more active and exercise. And then these are just two examples. Hormone regulation, improved sleep, reduced stress, improved mood. All of these things are factors in successful weight loss. So it's not just the calories that we're ingesting. It's also just the cascade effect it has on our health. And, if we're eating a lot of sugary foods, a lot of processed foods, we're also probably not focusing on whole foods and fiber, protein, and the good fats and all the things that we need to feel full and satiated and that we know make us healthy. And so another advantage of reducing our sugar intake is that it can actually have a really big impact on our skin. A biological process called glycation can cause sugar to destroy our skin and make it wrinkly. And, removing sugar from our diet, within a few weeks, things start to turn around for us and we can start to see that in our skin and, it'll kind of look brighter, we'll look more youthful. And, sugar also plays a role in candida growth and yeast. And so, if that's something you're struggling with as well, like rashes and eczema and psoriasis, then removing sugar from your diet can also have an impact on, on those symptoms as well. And so once you've rewired your brain into not needing sugar anymore, you're going to find that your cravings minimize a lot, and it happens pretty quickly. And you're going to end up reaching for naturally sweet foods such as fruit instead of these high sugar treats. But also, as we're going through the detox, like I said, you're going to be doing all this work and you don't want to go back to the way you were doing things before, because you're going to end up right back in the same place. And so as you're going through this detox, to think about what changes do you want to make? We're going to talk about how to kind of track that in a little bit, but really be thinking about, what can you do in your day-to-day differently when you're done with this that will help you make progress. And so, another reason is increased energy and less mood swings due to a detox. The cyclical nature of sugar can cause low energy levels and mood swings. Giving up sugar can reverse this, the sugar, blood sugar roller coaster that we get on, and that it is definitely associated with mood swings. I know before I really got, my sugar and carb intake under control, I would have crazy mood swings. I would get so hangry. Like my husband and I had a running joke about me being the Incredible Hulk, but I would give him the 20-minute warning and be like, we need to eat soon or else things are out of my control are going to happen. And fortunately I've moved past that. So it can be done. And as I mentioned before too, having that overnight fast and having, a nice low glucose level in the morning, and then making sure that you're not eating something super carby, simple carbohydrates, not eating something sugary in the morning really makes a huge impact on the rest of your day. So if you prioritize one thing, from my point of view, it is making sure that you eat a really good breakfast. And I would say it's better to skip breakfast than to eat something that's super sugary. And then another advantage of doing a sugar detox is a better brain power. So elevated glucose levels can be harmful to our brain. Some research suggests that elevated glucose levels can cause brain inflammation, which results in slow cognitive function and deficits in memory and attention. And giving up sugar can actually reduce the damage and cause clearer thinking overall. Sugar has a really big impact on our gut health. And, we hear a lot about the gut brain connection, and it's very true. If our gut health is not good, then our brain cannot function properly. And we then start to have symptoms like brain fog, and depression and anxiety and things like that, because things just aren't working right. And so when we cut out sugar and get off these crazy blood sugar roller coasters, it can have a huge impact on our mental health as well. And so, gradually removing sugar from your diet will lessen your symptoms, but it's almost always going to take longer. And I think in a lot of ways it is harder to do, because without feeling those sugar detox symptoms, personally for me, it really motivates me to not want to do it again. And I mean, you can make these changes slowly over time, and you can be really strategic about it. And we will talk a little bit about the end of the workshop about how you can strategically make those changes over the next year in a program that I have coming up. And so, when you're going cold turkey, and just in general, really, you want to make sure that you're drinking plenty of water. Sparkling water, brands like Spindrift and Waterloo are really good. A lot of the sparkling waters actually have a lot of the PFAS forever chemicals in them. And there was a really interesting consumer report done on it. And so a lot of the really more popular brands actually are really full of chemicals. And so make sure that you're drinking one that is not full of PFAS chemicals. And you can also do fruit infused water, non-caffeinated herbal teas. So the reason I point out non-caffeinated here is because caffeine can also have an impact on our blood sugar. So if you're a morning coffee drinker, you want to make sure that you're not drinking more than 2 cups of coffee, because once you do more than that, even aside from the extra sugar you're probably getting from your coffee creamer or whatever you're adding into it, but caffeine itself can have an impact on your blood sugar as well. And so if you're drinking, a bunch of coffee, during the day, and then on top of that, having something very carby or very sugary, there's just no way you can recover from that, by the end of the day and not just have the munchies and fatigue. So making sure that you're eating enough protein is really, really important. So protein does help regulate our blood sugar levels. It keeps us feeling full and it improves our energy levels. But it's important to be mindful too of the quality of protein you're eating. For example, bacon and fried meat is probably not the best thing to eat, as I think we all know, that it can actually contribute to your cravings further. And a lot of bacon in particular actually has added sugar to it. So if you're doing a sugar detox, you definitely want to stay away from bacon. Aim for beans, legumes. If you can, I know it's hard to find. So we always say this organic pasture raised meat, but even just the stuff off the shelf at the grocery store is better than, eating something that's super processed. Wild caught fish, if you can find it, and organic soy products, if you tolerate them well. And fiber is another really important factor in staying, keeping your blood sugar stable and not crashing. So like protein, fiber has the ability to help regulate our blood sugar and it keeps us feeling full. And so it also helps with the elimination with going poop every day. We want to make sure we're going poop at least once a day. And so, because when you're properly eliminating, your ability to detox increases and your symptoms are going to lessen. And so, you want to make sure everything's moving through you daily. And foods like fresh fruits and veggies, chia and ground flax seeds are awesome. Chickpeas, lentils, beans, again, have lots of fiber and lots of protein. And same with seeds, and any nuts are going to have the good fibers, the good proteins, and the good fats. And so I know we say this all the time, but any sort of health and wellness recommendations, you're always going to find this, but it's because it's so true. And it's because most of us are so stressed out. Stress really, it negatively impacts our health. We don't know the difference between being chased by a lion and being cut off in traffic. Like our body just does not know the difference. And so if we are super stressed out all the time, then we're not going to be able to lose weight. We're going to emotionally eat. We're going to have sugar and carb cravings. Our cortisol levels are going to be elevated, impacting our adrenal glands. And so, stress really does have a huge impact on our overall health, physically and mentally. And so, if you can manage it every day, just try to take a 15-minute walk. Like if you're not an exerciser, we're going to talk about this in a second, but if you're not somebody who exercises, just taking a 15-minute walk every day, actually, especially after a big meal, helps to bring your blood sugar down after a big meal. And then it's also just going to have an overall positive impact on your health. And it's going to help you lose weight a little bit. It's going to just keep things moving along in your body. For everything to function properly, we do need to move every day. And it also has a huge positive impact on our stress levels as well. And so exercise. If you're not somebody who's a regular exerciser, I know it can feel really intimidating, especially when we see pictures like this. These people here, they're super fit. They look like they do this all the time. And we kind of look at, like, maybe we look at that and wish, well, we could look like that too, but we don't. And so we shouldn't try. Like that's the attitude a lot of us have. But there's no right or wrong way to exercise, as long as it's something that makes you feel good and something that you enjoy doing. You have every right to do it. You do not have to go to do CrossFit. You don't have to go do yoga if you don't like yoga. You don't have to run if you don't want to run. By just finding something that you like to do, that you enjoy, that makes you feel good. And if you're not somebody who does it currently, then working on your mindset around that to turn it into something that you view as something that nourishes you and not something that is just another chore that drags you down. And of course, sleep, another one that we talk about a lot. But again, because it's super important. So getting adequate levels of sleep, it really does help to balance your hormones. It reduces stress, it heals your body, it increases brain power. Like we know all of this, but I don't think a lot of us realize how a lack of sleep impacts, again, our cortisol levels and our stress. If we're tired, We're going to feel stressed out. It's hard to get through the day when you're exhausted. But lack of sleep also increases the hormone ghrelin, and this can lead to increased cravings for carbs and sugar, again, perpetuating the cycle. And again, if you're an emotional eater, then, if you're sleep deprived, if you're super stressed out, then you're way more likely to emotionally eat. And usually that's carbs and sugar. So prioritizing, all of these things just in general is a great idea, but especially as you're going through a detox is really important. All right, so here is our sugar addiction quiz. So I just want you to count for yourself, and you can put it in the comments for me. I'd love to see what you score on this. So this is 10 questions. This is 1, do you have a tough time saying no to sweets and desserts? Do you experience cravings even when you try to cut down your sugar intake or carbs? Do you think about sugary foods during the day and the evening? When you start to eat sweets, is it difficult to stop? Do you get a rush of energy after eating sweets, but then crash and feel hungry pretty quickly? Do you often feel guilt or shame after eating sugar? Do you reward yourself with sugary food or drinks? Do you overeat sugary foods when you're stressed? Do you have memories of feeling loved or cared for that are connected to sweets? And number 10, do you feel like you just can't seem to get enough sugar when you start eating sweets, but you crave more? So if you answered yes to 3 or more of these, then you may have a problem with sugar. You may be addicted to sugar. And I'll point out too, a lot of these actually have quite a bit of overlap with emotional eating as well. When we're emotionally eating, we're trying to make ourselves feel good, and back to what sugar does to our brains. It's the same pleasure centers that cocaine and morphine light up for us. And so, we may be self-medicating with sugar and not even realize we're doing it. All right, so how do we put it into action? Well, first, participate in the 10-day sugar detox challenge, which, is going on right now. And really making the decision to stick to it, and making sure that you have your mind in the right place, that you have set yourself up for success, that you're going to be able to do this. It's just 10 days out of your life. And really just making sure that your mind is in the right place. And number 2, go cold turkey. Don't try to wean yourself off. Just hop off the train, stay off. And number 3, bringing balance to your macronutrients. So like we said, carbs, fat, protein. So these macronutrients are the things that you need to help you feel satiated, and deal with your cravings during the detox process. And the best way to do this is in the form of whole foods, with whole grains, fruits, vegetables. Avocados, great for making you feel full. Nuts, seeds, animal proteins, legumes, and beans. And berries are great if you're having a sugar craving. Just, pop a few blueberries in your mouth and you'll probably be over it pretty quickly. And number 4 is reducing your inflammatory load. So inflammation triggers blood sugar imbalances, insulin resistance, and type 2 diabetes. And so there are foods in your diet other than sugar that may be contributing to your overall inflammatory load. For example, gluten and dairy, highly refined processed foods, and trans fats are all terrible for creating inflammation. And so reducing these from your diet can help you succeed in the long run. Now, as you're going through the detox, I know that this can be really overwhelming to look at that and go, I can't have gluten or dairy or sugar for 10 days. But I assure you, if you look through the pantry list, you look through the recipes, you look through the recipes that we're posting in the Facebook group, you can do gluten and dairy and sugar-free for 10 days, and you're going to feel a lot better. And cutting out artificial sweeteners. So there's research that shows that these artificial sweeteners may cause similar impacts caused by sugar, like blood sugar dysregulation. So even though it doesn't have any actual sugar in it, our brain interprets it as sugar. And then we still get a blood sugar spike, even though we didn't eat anything sweet. It's kind of the same thing with eating or ingesting too much caffeine as well. So it's best to remove any artificial sweeteners from your diet. If you need them in small amounts, things like monk fruit, stevia, or erythritol can be good substitutes, but again, just in very small quantities to just make it taste slightly sweet. And make sure that your schedule supports your detox. So, if you have been really addicted to sugar, you're probably going to have worse symptoms. And so maybe starting on a Wednesday or a Thursday, so that when your symptoms hit really hard, it's going to be the weekend and you're going to be able to just kind of like lock yourself away and be cranky and feel bad for a day or two until things even out. And stock your fridge with low sugar fruits. Make sure that you have something, if you get really intense cravings, to have something that if you just cannot kick the craving and you just can't get out of your brain, having that around. And another really great thing to use to something I eat every day is a Juice Plus complete protein shake. So that has lots of fiber, it has lots of protein in it. It's a complete protein. So those are going to make you feel full, and it's not going to have a big impact on your blood sugar, especially if you mix it with something like unsweetened almond milk is my favorite thing to put it with. It's a really great snack. It's a really great way to make yourself feel full, to keep you regular, and to really, if you're having a sugar craving, it's amazing to kick a sugar craving. So remove all temptation from your kitchen. If you know that you have a problem with it, if you know that you cannot resist a potato chip, and I say that because I cannot resist a potato chip, so I do not have them in my home ever, unless it's a really special day, like the kid's birthday party. They're just not in my house. They are not something I purchase. I don't keep them around because I will sit there and eat the whole thing. And so I just don't have them. And if you're like that, then just making sure that you don't have this stuff in your house is the best way to go about it. And we all slip. I don't want you to think that, even if on your first day, you slip up and you're like, oh, I was not supposed to eat that. Well, okay, you haven't failed. You get the opportunity, and this is for anything. You have the opportunity to start again your next meal. You have the opportunity to start again the next day, to do better. And so just making sure that you, again, back to your mindset that, it's okay if you slip up. Do your absolute best. Just because you slipped up does not mean that you have failed. It just means you're human. And supplementation, things that can help with cravings. So there is, in the resources that go along with the sugar detox, there's a really nice list of supplements that can help. And some of those, that can help reduce sugar cravings are L-glutamine, magnesium, herbs for stress. I really love St. John's wort. Ashwagandha is also great. Valerian root. B vitamins, chromium can all help you reduce your sugar cravings and help you get through the detox. And journaling. So back to number 9, what if you slip up? I really encourage you to keep a journal while you're going through this, and keep track of what you're eating. You don't have to count calories, but just keep yourself accountable. I like to write my food down first thing in the morning so that I know what I have planned. That's what I'm going to eat that day. And I already know what I'm going to eat. There's no question. I really struggle with lunch because I have a hard time making myself stop working to go and eat something. And so if I write it down, I'm way more likely to go and do it because I've already got it in my head. But also writing down your feelings. So again, if you're somebody who struggles with emotional eating, or you think you might be an emotional eater, especially if you slip up, going and journaling about it and trying to identify those triggers, like what set you off, what was going on that day. Was it because you didn't plan a meal? Was it because somebody made you mad? Was it because you were super tired? Like what happened? Because if you can sit down, you can write it down. Something really magical happens to our brains when we write things out. We just get a really great perspective on it. Then you can start to identify patterns for yourself and help yourself be better prepared. All right, so let's recap. So a sugar detox is the best way to break the addictive sugar cycle. Sugar detox can help you lose weight, look younger, and have more energy and give you better brain power. And detoxing from sugar can cause symptoms, but they do not last forever. They only last for a few days. And if you're seriously addicted to sugary foods, then going cold turkey is the absolute best way to detox from sugar. This means no added sugars of any kind. Like we're talking about, those cellular sugars and berries are okay while you're doing your sugar detox. And there are ways to manage your detox symptoms, like as we talked about, reducing your stress levels, exercising, sleeping better, supplementing, journaling. And another way to manage your detox symptoms, and I think this is really just how we should eat in general, is prioritizing proteins, fats, good fats, healthy fats, complex carbs, removing all sugar from your home, making sure that you're staying hydrated, not drinking too much caffeine, and making sure that you're meal prepping and planning, and that you have a schedule that works for you. So as we talked about earlier, we're going through this detox, and, I think if you're watching this, you're probably looking to break your food and sugar addiction once and for all. Everybody that I've given that quiz to so far has scored more than a 3. It's a big problem for a lot of us. So it's not surprising. And so, do you wish that you could sit down without feeling like you needed to eat something sweet all the time? Especially if you're addicted to sugar, it kind of rules your life. That's what kind of the definition of addiction. And so do you want to break that cycle? So anybody can do a sugar detox. You really just have to make sure that you set yourself up for success. We're here, we're doing the detox. You have all of the resources that you need. And even if you don't consume a lot of sugar day to day, giving yourself a little break every once in a while is still a really good idea. Letting your liver just kind of clean everything out like it's supposed to. So, I alluded to this earlier, but how has my life changed since I detoxed from sugar personally, and, how it relates to my food habits and overall goals? A lot. Sugar really used to be a huge problem for me. It was all I thought about. It was all I wanted to eat. I just wanted to eat sugar and carbs. And it really started, I didn't grow up with a good foundation for a healthy diet. And then in high school, I decided to be a vegetarian, and I was a dirty vegetarian. I think back on what I was eating, and it was just so unbalanced and so bad. At the time too, I gained a lot of weight. I was really suffering, in retrospect, with body dysmorphia. I just had terribly low self-esteem. I wasn't a happy person. And when I was diagnosed with adrenal fatigue through a fantastic doctor, she did a mix of Chinese and Western medicine. And so she was really able to help kind of find some things that my general practitioner just couldn't really help me with. She said, well, you've got adrenal fatigue. She's like, I can't even find any B12 in your body. It's just not there. She was like, you low in D, she's like, you need some vitamin C. She's like, you need all of it, girl. And so, she helped me, she helped me get started. But over the years, I really had to make a lot of kind of tough choices and changes on my own. I was joking with a friend the other day that I was just kind of a trailblazer and like dealing with this stuff in my 20s when everybody else was out having a good time and I was feeling terrible. And now I'm in my 40s and all my friends are starting to have these problems. And I'm like, hey, I got you. But I feel like, honestly, I just feel like a different person. I have way more energy in my 40s than I did in my 20s. I'm happy. I feel healthy. I exercise. I feel good about myself. I feel confident. And it's what I want to help the women who come to me, looking to find these things for themselves, back to feeling comfortable in their own skin. This is my goal, because I've done that for myself and I want others to feel the same way. So I want you to just take a second and close your eyes. We all have a health goal. We all have a way that we want to feel. And I want you to just kind of take a deep breath and think about what it is that you want to get out of the sugar detox. And, what do you want after this detox? What do you envision your life being like that you do not have right now? What would cutting out, your sugar addiction forever, for example, feel like? What if you were no longer emotionally eating? What would that feel like? What would your life look like? And so, I shared a lot of information here with you today. We're doing the 10-day sugar detox as well. And so, you're set up for success during the detox, but then the question is what comes after that. So, doing the 10-day detox after you watch this workshop is a fantastic next step. But what happens after that 10 days? So for long-term success, we have to change the way we eat. We have to change the way we think about ourselves. We have to change the way we approach how we eat. We need to, I found for a lot of us, we really need to work on the emotional and mental aspect of eating and viewing nourishment before we can even really start to make those changes to our diet. And so this is the approach that I took with myself. I worked on my mental health a lot before I was able to stick to these long-term dietary changes. As I mentioned before, I don't eat a lot of sugar anymore. I cut out gluten because it was making me very sick. I don't think that everybody needs to be gluten-free, but we absolutely need to make sure that we're focusing on whole foods. That's what we all need. And the same with dairy. So, and I know that intimidates a lot of people, but it truly is the way that we need to eat to feel healthy and to live a long time. So I am so excited about this. I am starting a 90-day group coaching program. And so it's called the Ditch the Diet. It's a transformational intuitive eating program. And so I want you to envision, like, what do you think about when you think of transformation? I think about butterflies and how they're these little caterpillars, and then they go into their chrysalis and turn into a ball of goo, and then come out this beautiful butterfly. And, I think for a lot of us, when we're in that early stage of our journey of figuring out, what's going on, why can't we stop eating sugar? Why can't we stop emotionally eating? Why don't I feel confident? Whatever it is that's really dragging you down, what you're looking for is a transformation. And the absolute best way to do that is, especially if you're somebody who's dieted for a long time, is to focus on intuitive eating. And so here I do one-on-one coaching as well as this program, but I am launching a group coaching program in a little later in January. And so it's going to be a 90-day intuitive eating program. We're really aiming to ditch the diet mentality and just kind of turn diet culture on its head and tell it, no, go away. We're going to be focusing on finding balanced eating for ourselves. This does look a little bit different for everybody. And so that's another reason that intuitive eating is so important, is there's a lot of information out there that says, oh, well, you have to eat keto, or you have to eat paleo, or you have to eat vegan, or, whatever it is, and you have to subscribe to this, sometimes very strict regimen of eating to be healthy. And it really causes a lot of unhealthy habits for us. And so finding what works for you. And saying goodbye to emotional eating. So, back to that quiz that we just took, a lot of those have overlap with emotional eating. And I think a lot of us are always emotionally eating to some degree, but being aware of it and making sure that we have their strategies to deal with it when it does crop up is really important. And the goal with this too is to attain and maintain a healthy weight and to ultimately improve your relationship with food and your body. And so, in practice, intuitive eating is, like I said, rejecting that diet mentality. This is the anti-diet. This is finding some peace with yourself, making peace with food, honoring and loving your body, saying no to negative self-talk and self-judgment. A lot of us have a real big problem with it, and we don't even know it until somebody points it out. And learning to honor our hunger and honoring our fullness. If you're somebody who's dieted for a long time, you're probably not honoring your hunger or your fullness fully. And so finding that relationship there of saying, I'm hungry, I need to eat, I don't have to deprive myself, or I'm full, I need to stop, can go a really long way. And, like I said, building that confidence and improving your relationship with yourself and food. And so who needs this? Who would this be for? Well, somebody who's struggling with sugar addiction is absolutely one. Somebody who's an emotional eater, if you have a lot of food cravings, if you've tried and failed to lose weight unsuccessfully in the past, if you're a chronic dieter, or if you have negative body image and negative self-talk, or, any combination of these, this is a really great program for you. And so when you're done with this program, you're going to be able to never diet again. It's not even going to be something that crosses your mind. You're going to improve your relationship with food. You're going to say goodbye to emotional eating. You're going to build confidence and feel confident. You're going to attain and maintain a healthy weight. And ultimately, the goal with all of this is you're going to feel comfortable in your own skin. And so, in this program, you're going to make real sustainable change. So this is going to give you the knowledge and the tools that you need to stop the sugar cycle, to control your cravings, and to change the way you eat for a healthy weight and a confident attitude. And so here's what you're going to get in this program is you're going to get weekly live group coaching. We're going to meet Monday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern. We're going to have weekly office hours. You're going to have an accountability group. So there's going to be a lot of accountability and support built into this to make sure that you can be successful. Because what I find with my one-on-one clients a lot is we talk a lot about what we want to do in their sessions. And then, as an individual coach, it's hard for me to be able to give people that support ongoing throughout the week. And so what we can do in the group coaching, this is why I love it so much, is, we're going to be able to meet weekly for our class. We're going to have office hours, and we're going to have in-between accountability. So you're going to have access to something every day to cheer you on. And you're going to have meal plans and recipes. You're going to have shopping lists. And that value right there is $2,194. And you've got some awesome bonuses, and I'm super excited about. So you're going to have 1 year of VIP access to the Dish to Diet Summit. And that's a value of $97. And that's going to be 15 coaches talking about everything, every aspect we could think of the anti-diet movement. So we're talking about mindset, we're talking about confidence, we're talking about self-sabotaging, negative self-talk, things like hypnotherapy, EFT tapping for anxiety and sugar cravings, metabolic syndrome, sugar addiction, so many things to help you learn and figure out, what specifically is going on with you, so that you can have a successful 2023. And so you're also going to get access to an emotional eating mini course to help you identify what kind of emotional eater you are, and where you can start to make improvements for yourself to break that cycle. And you're going to get a pantry clean out ebook and a little video to go along with it to help you prioritize what to clean out of your pantry and to set yourself up for success. And you're going to get 2 bonus one-on-one sessions with me. And that's a total of $731 in value. And so this package together, everything totaled up, is $2,925 in value. Now, when I host this group coaching program later on, it's going to cost $1,197. But right now, this beta group, this first time group, is just $497, because I want to get you in here. I want to get your feedback, and I want to set you up for success in 2023. And so this is a one-time price. This is the never going to happen again price. So if you're interested, if this sounds good, then you're going to get a link to go ahead and sign up, or you're also going to get a link to schedule a one-on-one consultation with me to see if it's a right fit. And so here's a testimonial from my client, Kelly, who I just love working with. And she said, Maggie's coaching sessions have been instrumental to me in transitioning into a newer way of thinking of my mental and physical health. And it's something I look forward to every week as a time that I could set aside to work on my personal growth. And our sessions have changed my life and helped me realize better ways to love and support myself. And what a huge compliment from her. But I wanted to use her testimonial here because a lot of what I worked on with Kelly is what we're going to be working on in the Ditch the Diet program. And so this was what she walked away with. And so, as a coach, I cannot make any promises about what your results are going to be. We are all very complicated creatures. But I can say that if you participate in this class, you do all of the work, and you still have absolutely no positive results after 12 weeks together, I will refund your money, but no one has ever asked for their money back. So what you can do next is register for the course, or you can schedule a free consultation with me to figure out if it's the right fit for you. So we're going to do a little Q&A, and then if anybody has any questions, we will be able to get to those. All right. So what if you get through the first week of being sugar-free and then you fall off the wagon? So like we said, it's okay. We are human. It's going to happen. So the first thing you do is go journal, figure out what was going on, figure out what your negative thoughts were, your emotions surrounding it, your food choices, so that you're compelled to get back on the wagon, and you can, make sure that you don't do it again next time. And like we are all human, so it's okay. Be nice to yourself. Give yourself some grace. So how does this really work? Well, sugar is addictive, which we established. It releases dopamine. It affects those pleasure centers in our brain that cocaine and morphine also hit. So it makes us feel real good. And when we remove sugar from our diet, our body is going to have to rewire and adapt to not being dependent on sugar anymore. And it does this by releasing stored toxins and balancing out our hormones and blood sugar levels. Then this can cause some nasty symptoms and cravings at first, but if you can power through it, and you've got lots of resources to help cut down on those symptoms and your cravings, you're going to feel amazing when you're done. So sugar detox symptoms last about 3 to 10 days for most people. And my experience, most people are really closer to 3, depending on how reliant you are on sugar. So some people won't experience any symptoms at all, and others will experience only cravings. So, it really depends on your individual body. Okay, so do you need to be sugar-free forever? And the answer is no, but you're also not going to be able to go back to the way you were eating before. And so that's why, I've been saying throughout this workshop is you need to think about what you're going to do after your 10 days are up. What, and one thing, well, you can do that too, is journaling during the 10 days and really trying to identify, what your triggers are. What are some of the habits you have daily that are bringing you back to sugar, and start to work on changing those habits. So, make sure to listen to what your body is telling you. If you are sensitive and notice that your cravings kick in, even with like a small amount of sugar, you may need to do it for longer. And you may also, in journaling, realize that, it's not just a physical addiction, it's also an emotional addiction. All right. So in conclusion, the investment in this program is only $497. So it's $2,925 value for only $497. And like I said, this is a one-time offer. I'm going to run this. It's going to start January 16th. We're going to meet on Mondays for 12 weeks. And then you will never see this price again. All right. So here is a special bonus for attending and listening to me. And I hope you have enjoyed this. So it's an awesome 60-page recipe guide. Has some really great stuff that is acceptable for the detox. And it's just really healthy, good stuff. Lots of fall and winter recipes in it. And you can schedule your free consultation with me. You can just scan here, and it'll take you right to my booking page. And, if you have any questions, I would love to talk to you, see if it's the right fit, if it's going to help you reach your goals. And, if it's not, then what you can do, instead of the program, some steps that you could take. So, that is the end of our presentation. Thank you so much for joining me. To turn on my camera here, just say hi to everybody. Thank you so much for watching this. Like I said, I am so excited about the Ditch the Diet program. It's something I've been working on for a really long time. It's kind of a culmination of a lot of things that I've been working on with my clients over the past few years. And it really just addresses a lot of the common issues that we're having. And really those being confidence and trying to lose weight. And that comes down to a lot of times, are we emotionally eating? Are we struggling with sugar addiction? A lot of times we're not respecting ourselves the way, we really respect other people. So when it comes down to, is what I find with a lot of people is, we say things to ourselves that we would never say to somebody we care about. But we are so hard on ourselves. And that has, when you're hearing that all day in your head, that has just a cascade effect on everything else in your life. And so that's one thing that we really work on a lot as well. So thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to pop over here to Facebook and see if we have any questions. Didn't look like a few folks are on. Hey, Connie. Yeah, so the complete is not a meal replacement. I guess it could be if you're going for a light meal. I really like it. I have one with breakfast to kind of round out my breakfast and make sure I stay full. I will have it kind of as a snack in the afternoon. Like if I get to 3 o'clock and I'm like, oh, I'm so hungry. Eat anything, it's going to be dinner time soon, so we eat really early around my house. And so it could be a meal, but I think if you're going to use it as a meal, you really want to make it into a full smoothie and make sure that you're getting some good fats in there and some fruits and some extra fiber and stuff to really help you stay full. So with that said, thank you again so much for joining me, and I will see y'all tomorrow.